cannot say certain words. And so I have to be careful, but I think you understand. And then, probably when I was 7 or 8, maybe 8 or 9, it happened again. But with my best friend at the time, I went to stay all night with him, and his mom drove us somewhere, and we had to wait in the car. And I remember he told me to look out the back window. And so, if you can imagine, I was a little kid, and I looked out the back window. I was in the back seat, sitting, looking out the back window. And then, so, my body, like, here's my head, and my body, and this is the back seat right here. And I remember him getting underneath me, and being inappropriate. And I know, like, he was my age, and, like, the only way he would have known anything about that was if something had happened to him. And those thoughts stayed with me and caused me to be really self-conscious when I was young. And they did affect me, but I don't know, I was able to block it out for a long time. And I remember being in school and I was a good student, like I got good grades. It's like I was always trying to compensate, always trying to impress my parents because there were multiple kids and it was like struggling to fight for attention. And so really, I think when I was really young, I think I got good grades because I wanted the attention that the good grades would bring. And, yeah, so there's really not a lot about my childhood other than that. You know, it's just a basic upbringing. My dad was gone a lot. My mom stayed at home. And I remember, like, me and my younger brother, we just played a lot. So I had just kind of a basic childhood, but we were poor, but we really, I really didn't think about it. And then when I was in 4th grade, I had a school teacher, his name was Mr. Dates, and he was the first one to really introduce me to the thought about money, and he used to pay students to, like, if you came in early and lifted the blinds up in the room, or you put the chairs down off the desks, or, basically if you would do chores, he would actually pay you, and, like, he was the first one to really make me understand some things about money, and so I really appreciate him for doing that. My parents, we went to church a lot, like Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, every youth function, vacation Bible school. I mean, if you can imagine it being in church, we were doing revival meetings, things like that. My parents were very received your gift. I don't deserve it. And that was basically all he said. So I thought to myself, I almost thought when I got that message that maybe he would re-engage, like he would get an understanding that he didn't deserve it. Maybe he would try to deserve it by doing something about it, but he never did. So this year I didn't send him anything. Anyway, so that was 16, and about this time, of course, I'm starting to work. This is kind of where I started my last video, starting with the work events. But not only did I start to work, but I also started to date, and I got a girlfriend, and she was maybe a year or so younger than me. And I fell hard for her. And we dated quite a bit. Well, obviously since I was older than her, I graduated high school when I was 17, so I was young when I graduated. I didn't turn 18. I graduated in May of 1990, and then I didn't turn 18 until September. So anyway, by that time, I'm out of school and I'm actually working. And of course, she still has spring break. Well, she went on spring break. And when she came home, she was pregnant. Well, she found out after she came home, obviously. And timing-wise, she had determined that it was his and not mine. She met some guy on spring break and just like a one-night stand type of thing. And so it was like I had a moment to decide, what do I do? Do I do what my dad did and accept this kid as my own? But I didn't. I made a different decision. I just couldn't get over it. I couldn't. It hurt too bad. And I just couldn't accept it. And there's times that I thought maybe I should have, but I didn't. So that was one thing that I look back on and I wonder about. But it was shortly after that I decided to go to college. So I sat out a year, but then I thought maybe I should go because I was just kind of in that frame of mind that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I went to college, and my very first semester, I just got involved in the wrong crowd, and these guys decided one night that they were going to take these scales, weight scales from the chemistry lab, and was going to trade them for some weed. And that's what we did. And we didn't really get caught, but I think they knew that we did it. And so basically it was like the proposition was made that if I would leave, they would not pursue it. And so they wanted somebody to blame, and I was the youngest. And so it was easy for me to be the fall guy because some of these guys were seniors and had been there the whole time, and they had a lot more to lose. And really, I just wasn't feeling it anyway. So that was another big life event that impacted my future because it was like, okay, it's not going to be college. I'm going to have to make it without a degree. And so that was another really, really tough time. It was a dark time because none of those guys reached out and said thank you. None of those guys reached out and did anything. I just was the fall guy and I was gone. And they were safe. And that was strange. It was a strange thing to go through. And it was that time that I knew that it was on me, that I was going to have to hunker down and really, really work hard to be able to make up for the time that I had lost. So I did. I said, sure, I don't care. I don't need them, but if you want them, if it makes you feel better, that's fine. But don't do it for me because I don't care. So when she was going off to school, I was insecure about it. I was scared I was going to lose her. And so I thought, well, I could propose to her and like get her a ring, but then I thought she could just take the ring off, right? So I thought, but if I got her what she really wanted, then she couldn't take those off. And how could she share those with another guy um, if I was the one that paid for them? Well, long story short, she did. And that was like the first girlfriend was like, I was just a kid. So yeah, I was sad, but I snapped out of it pretty quick. But this one, I was an adult, and I was devastated. I mean, like really devastated, like wanting to do something really bad to myself. And I mean, so many sleepless nights, and I couldn't eat. I mean, I've had so many things happen that were scary and painful, but nothing compares to that. That broken heart was the worst pain I've ever endured in my life. I got on drugs for about 3 months trying to get over it, which is obviously not the answer, but I was able to get off of those pretty quick. But about 90 days I spent on drugs, hard drugs, not weed. Again, I don't even know if I can say the name of it on here, and I don't want to, but just not have to create a problem. It's a powder, if that tells you anything. But it was awful. It was an awful time. But I slowly came out of that fog. And if anything, that just really concreted my desire to be successful, because I wanted to show her what she lost in losing me. There's a saying, the greatest revenge is massive success. And that's what I wanted to do. So now I'm 26, 27, maybe. Again, just working hard. By now I'm really smarter with money. I'm not utilizing debt. In fact, if I have any debt, I'm steadily paying it off, trying to get out of debt. And then when I was 28, my brother, who was 18, I got a call one night. It was from my stepbrother, from my dad's new family. My stepbrother called me and said, hey, you need to come to the hospital. Caleb has been in a motorcycle accident. And I remember thinking, I gotta work in the morning. I told that dummy not to be riding that. It wasn't even his motorcycle, it was a friend of his. And I just really always encourage him. I'm like, dude, you're gonna get hurt. So anyway, I told him on the phone, I'm like, dude, I gotta get up and go to work in the morning. I'm like, he'll be okay. And he was like, no, Derek, we don't think he will. And I'm like, what? Oh. And I'm still in my mind, I'm like, oh, whatever, he's gonna be fine. But I went to the hospital that night. And probably within an hour or so, he had passed. I never got to see him again. And I try not to think about this very often because it is so fucking painful. didn't have to work like I was having to work to get out of poverty. You know, it was almost like death was an easy out for him because I knew he was going to. I knew because I was going through it. I knew how hard it was for me to get from 18 to 28. And he was exactly 10 years younger than me. And I knew it was going to be so much effort and struggle for him. So I think it was hard, super hard to go through, but because I found beauty in the fact that it was over for him, that he didn't have to suffer anymore, that he wasn't going to have to endure the struggle that I had endured. I think I just found a way to cope with it and say it's probably for the best, you know. But after that, I pretty much, there's really nothing other than work and hard work. I mean, it was, if anything, it's just concreted in me the fact that I was on my own. And I was going to do anything and everything to protect my life from anyone and everyone, anyone and everything. And I think I became a little bit more isolationist. I didn't go out as much. I knew how dangerous life is, how vulnerable you are to anything. And I really just began to just like focus on work, like an unhealthy focus on work. I mean, I literally went from, I began working like 80 hours. That's when I started my 80-hour work weeks. I was working 2 full-time jobs basically at one job. And I became ultra disciplined. And I think that's when really I started, that's when I got multiple dogs. Because animals were never bad to me. Animals never caused me pain. And I just would encourage you all to just be very, very careful, you know, with your decisions, with your actions, with who you hang around. You just never know. I mean, life is just full of twists and turns. You just have to be so careful. But today, I look back on everything that happened. I look back on those girls that cheated on me. I look back on, you know, my brother dying. I look back on getting on drugs and off drugs. I look back at, you know, what happened to me when I was really young. And I don't regret any of it. I don't hate anybody for it. I'm grateful that all those things happened to me because they turned me into who I am. They made me who I am today. And just like my